let's talk all about the rematch. I think that's the billing in this one for sure. We've got Kansas City Current and their home opener going up against Portland Thorns FC. This is the match that is really going to set week 2 in motion, because this one's kicking off on Saturday at 12:45 ET on CBS. So make sure you tune in and see what happens in a rematch of the 2022 NWSL Championship final. Kansas City Current, runners up in that match. And this one, they're going up against the reigning champions, Portland Thorns, who walked away with the trophy on that day. Curious to see how Kansas City looks on the field against Portland, because if we're going off of week 1 performances, Portland looks like they're all right. Didn't have to necessarily kick off a bunch of that preseason rust that we always mention in these early weeks of the regular season. Some great reporting out of Kansas City trainings. A shout out to Daniel Sperry saying that Morgan Gautrat and Vanessa DiBernardo are back and participating in current trainings. If that availability report drops and those players are available, I would imagine that Kansas City looks a little bit different in terms of what they present to the opposition on the pitch that day. But as far as a pick goes, Lisa, I'm wondering if you and I are leaning the same way here in this game.
I'm leaning towards Portland. Which way are you going?
I'm also leaning towards Portland.
Okay. So we're leaning together. So if we fall, we both fall together. I like this matchup. I'm really excited to see it. I think there's going to be a lot of emotions in this one for both sides. Although Kansas City looks a bit different, their roster makeup is a bit different and advanced from the final last year in 2022. There's still a lot of the same core people. This game is also being played in Kansas City. It's the Current's home opener at Children's Mercy Park. They're looking to pack that park. They're looking to break their own personal attendance record at Children's Mercy and get a lot of fans out for this game because it is a rematch. It's on CBS SN, I believe, or Big CBS. And because of that, there's a lot of like pomp and circumstance around this. And Kansas City plays to that. They do. I think they feed into that a little bit more. They break out the celebrations. They get fun. They almost get looser in that type of setting and that type of stage when it is such a big game. They don't tense up. And because of that, I think it's going to be a really, really good match. But you're looking at a Portland Thorns side that just pummeled Orlando Pride, getting 4 goals, getting the shutout. Sophia Smith gets a goal and an assist in this one. There's 4 different goal scorers. The goals for the Thorns come in a variety of ways. And this Portland side has minimal changes from their roster last year. They're the second most team that kept and retained most of their players from last year, just behind OL Reign. And Mike Norris, the new head coach at the Thorns, has really kept things the status quo. Like, why shake things up too much when you won last year? And when you look at kind of the makeup and the lineup that Portland Thorns has, it's incredibly lethal. We're seeing Crystal Dunn being pushed higher into the midfield, where she is a bit more comfortable and can be much more effective on the ball. Her combination play with Kuika in behind her, they're making overlapping runs. They're combining with each other. That partnership between those two is really good. It's really impressive, and it's really difficult to defend against. And Haley Mace for Kansas City is going to be that left side defender, having to mark up against Crystal Dunn, against a Sophia Smith, who's going to push wide out of that central area as well. It's going to be a bit of an overload on the right side for Portland Thorns, and I'm just not sure Kansas City has the depth and the numbers to handle that much pressure from Portland. I think Kansas City will hold pretty tight. I don't think it'll be another blowout for the Thorns getting 4 and a shutout, but I do think Portland will take the win.
I think it's an important point that you make because the footage is out now. There's film. There's
Yeah.
officially film on every team in a regular season setting now after week one. And I think it's important that you note that right side for Kansas City because that right side struggled in that opening week one match against North Carolina. Is there something there that Portland will take a look at and try to continue to work on and build on and try to build up their attack and through the right flank there? I don't know. We'll see. But I think I think that's the difference of what we saw between those two teams, right? We saw the familiarity, we saw the comfortability and the cohesion between players and teammates on a team like Portland versus what we saw in Kansas City during week one. Are there players on that Kansas City's current squad who have that familiarity with each other? Yes, but there's also a ton who don't. I am excited to see a possible week two development of Michelle Cooper. I think when we were
Uh,
doing our recap, you and I were both really excited and high on that player and coming out of that North Carolina Courage week one loss. But we'll have to see because that availability report I think might indicate whether or not she gets a start or is coming off the bench for the team. But both lean in Portland, you and I both. I think everyone, if you get the chance, make sure you watch this game because it's on network CBS. You're gonna get to see a real battle. I think the home opener is going to elevate some things for Kansas City, even if they're even if for some reason there is still some early season uncomfortability, right? We
yeah.
talked about getting so many new pieces, whether that's via free agency, acquisition, or the draft, that there probably is going to be a little bit of time there for this team to finally come together and gel. Early injuries might not help that, right? Because it's still gonna you're integrating these new players from these knocks in preseason. But I think there's something to say about having that first home opener in your regular season. And I think if you're Kansas City, um, there's something to say about the community that has sort of rallied around you in terms
Oh,
of
completely.
appearing at those matches. So I think there's going to be an elevated level of play for both sides, right? Not in the sense that it's the rematch of the final, but just that it'll be a good environment.
Yeah, it'll be a great environment. I think that's so true that the culture Kansas City has developed and cultivated in that city, and the fact that it is on big CBS and that it's the home opener. I think there are a lot of factors that lean towards this being one of the best matchups of the weekend. Frankly, if I'm looking across the board at all 6 games that are going to be played, this is one that I am making sure I am not hitting on, or this is one I'm making sure I'm not missing because it's one that I really want to watch. And there are some really big superstars that I want to see get time. I mean, you just touched on Michelle Cooper. I think that's one that we could see developments from last week. She had really good moments. She made great runs into space, but her passes were just a little bit off. The connection between her and some of the other forwards and midfielders weren't quite there. Perhaps that's opening day jitters and the first game of the season playing in Providence Park. But I think a lot of that will settle down and we'll see a Kansas City side that has taken strides to get better and really compete at the top level this year.
I hear you. We're both leaning Portland Thorns. Do we want to maybe try to put a scoreline on it on this one?
Ooh, yeah, let's do that. I'm going like 2-0 Portland.
Okay, 2-0 Portland. I'm gonna say 2-1. I'm gonna say
Okay.
2-1. And
I like that.
we'll see if we are correct in our picks.